Hi guys. Today is September 13, 2015. I'm in Budapest, Hungary, and I just want to give some further thoughts on the migrant crisis that is having a serious impact on this region of the world. Um, an invasion by any other name. I mean, that's just unfortunately what's happening. The Hungarian army is right now at the border with Serbia. They intend to seal off the border by Tuesday, and they want to make sure that absolutely nobody comes in, because just yesterday 4,000 people came in. So you do the math. 4,000 in one day. How many days are in a year? So multiply, 4,000 times number of days in a year, and this keeps up. This is just going to completely change the face of Europe. I mean, we're going to be Islamized in no time. And I was just doing some research last night on the German reaction, because Germany is bearing the brunt of this. I mean, all these refugees are going to Germany because that's where they have the most generous benefits. I mean, so many are coming to Germany that in Munich, they don't even know anymore what to do with them. We're talking about people just sleeping on the streets because Germany doesn't have any more accommodations, because the numbers of people coming in are so huge, and there's no end to this. Today is supposedly Syria. Tomorrow it's going to be Mali, Nigeria, West Africa, East Africa, South Africa, Egypt, anywhere, because there's no end to this. And what has happened is that political liberalism has failed, and we need to re-examine a lot of the things that we were told, that we were trained to believe, trained like little dogs being trained by their circus trainer to believe things that are just completely false. The whole history of European colonialism in Africa needs to be revisited, because we were told that that all men are equal. The only difference between men is the color of their skin. That's what we were drilled from day one. I mean, that's like a tenet that must not be questioned. And all the problems in Africa are basically the result of European people just going there and being greedy and taking things that do not belong to them and imposing their values on noble savages. I mean, that's basically the story that we were given. And fast forward a few years, and what do we have now? Africa's hell. The Middle East is hell. The only thing that these people have to offer to the world is just a huge birth rate that is going to bury us. That is absolutely going to bury us. And the liberals and the leftists, I mean, they understand this. This has completely failed. I mean, it's a disaster. I mean, these people are running away from each other and themselves and their societies, and there's no end in sight, and there's no hope that things are going to get fixed in Africa, in the Middle East, at any time within the next 500 years, any more than there is hope at this point that in the US, the academic achievement between black kids and white kids is going to close. It's never going to close. Or in Paris, the academic achievement between the Africans and native French kids is going to close. It's just not going to close. It's just not going to happen. And people are just, giving up hope. And there is no hope. There is no hope. I mean, face it. Face reality. There is no hope. But, you're going to play it smart. And I was doing research last night, as I said. And I was trying to, look up at the German reaction. How they're handling these inflows. And I thought that I would get some insights from German publications, but what I saw was just propaganda after propaganda, I mean, just trying to hit people at an emotional level. All these pictures of kids and this, that, and the other. But it's really, it's really just manipulative, because most of the people who are coming are not kids. They're young men. I mean, you see them in Budapest, or you saw them particularly this summer. Now because of the crackdown, not so much. They're still coming, but not through Budapest at least. These men. These are just able-bodied young men, and but they still the media, the controlled media is it tries to hit things at an emotional level and manipulate people into accepting something that is clearly not in their interest. And that is the surrender of their countries in a silver platter to African and Middle Eastern cultures, to make up for the fact that African and Middle Eastern cultures have not developed. I mean, they're stuck in neutral. I mean, they've gone nowhere, other than violence and savagery and ISIS and all these things that are happening are just worst case scenario of a post-colonial future. But they point out some serious problems with liberalism, and that structural flaw is the assertion, the false assertion that that all men are equal and all groups of people are equal. Nobody's equal, and groups of people are not equal. They're different from top to bottom. Now, in Germany, you cannot point that out, because if you point that out, you will go to prison. In the U.S., you have political correctness, which is you still do in some circles, not as badly as a few years back. You can express yourself a little bit more freely now. But political correctness is just a way through which the left tries to control the outcome of the debate, to prevent certain questions that cannot be answered within the framework of liberalism from being asked to begin with. So, if you ask certain questions, you're being offensive. And if you're being offensive, there are consequences. Those consequences can be that, you lose your job, or even that you go to prison, or you have to pay a fine, like in France. So, the most important issues of today facing the Germans, they cannot openly discuss them. Angela Merkel just called for a crackdown on Facebook posts, because she says that dissent cannot be tolerated on the issue of immigration, on the issue of mass immigration, on the issue of ethnic replacement. It cannot be tolerated, she says. Xenophobia cannot be tolerated. xenophobia, that term that the left came up with to simply protecting your own self-interest in the face of other cultures. That's xenophobia, according to the left. So she says that the state has to crack down, and Facebook as a corporation has to crack down. But the problem is that nowadays with the internet, you can't hide the truth. You can't hide the truth of what's going on. It is difficult. It is very difficult. It is almost impossible to keep people for a long time from realizing that they're being royally screwed over. That they're giving up their countries in return for nothing other than rape and violence. And, a massive drainage of their tax dollars. The Finnish are already jacking up tax rates to finance all these refugees, and there's no end in sight, and you can't point it out. There's no end in sight. The leader of Hungary, God bless him, is pointing out certain things that in the West are unmentionable. The fact that this has, that the refugee issue has no end in sight, that the migrant issue has no end in sight, that there are millions of people, who if you invite them over, are going to come over and they're going to take over, and that that's not in the interest of the native Hungarians. Clearly, I mean, in the case of Hungary, it's not in the interest of the Germans either. So, I think that we need dramatic action, because the stakes in this case are just too big. And that means that, you gotta just speak out. And you gotta tell the truth. And you gotta grind these people, these leftists, to the ground. By being politically incorrect and by asking them questions that they do not want to answer, that they do not care to answer, that they cannot answer in the way that they would like. So again, Angela Merkel wants to crack down on Facebook, wants to crack down on Facebook posts. She does not like Facebook posts. So, Germans, that's your dear leader. She wants you to just follow the party line in the most autocratic, Stasi-like way possible. I mean, this woman is showing her roots. And you should resist her. You need to resist her for the welfare of your children and your grandchildren. You need to resist this woman till there's the last breath of air left in you. All right, take care, guys.